Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. On December 11th, 2001, a single event occurred that would reshape the world for decades to come. It wasn't a war or a technological breakthrough, it was the stroke of a pen. On that day, China officially joined the World Trade Organization. This decision, celebrated at the time as a victory for global cooperation, would unleash an economic tidal wave that lifted hundreds of millions from poverty, hollowed out industries in the West, and fundamentally shifted the balance of global power. This is the story of how letting China into the club didn't just change China, it changed the world. Let's rewind to the late 1970s. After decades of isolation, China was a sleeping giant. Under Deng Xiaoping's reforms, the country began to awaken. It opened up, creating special economic zones like Shenzhen, which transformed from a small fishing village into a bustling metropolis. The strategy was simple: attract foreign investment, become a hub for exports, and grow. By the 1990s, China could make almost anything and make it cheap. But there was a problem. It was an outsider facing high tariffs and trade barriers. To truly unleash its potential, China needed a golden key to the global marketplace. That key was membership in the World Trade Organization. So why did the rest of the world, especially the United States, agree to open the door? The prevailing belief was a powerful and optimistic one. Economic freedom would lead to political freedom. The thinking went like this: by bringing China into the WTO, its state-controlled economy would be disciplined by global rules, transparency would increase, a thriving middle class would emerge and inevitably demand democratic reforms. It was a grand theory that by integrating China into the global economy, the West could guide its political evolution. Many saw it not as a risk, but as the final peaceful victory of the Cold War era. For China, joining the WTO was like hitting the jackpot. The benefits were immediate and immense. It gained guaranteed, low-tariff access to markets worldwide. Suddenly, Made in China labels were everywhere. Foreign direct investment poured in as global companies rushed to build factories and take advantage of this new open landscape. In return, China agreed to lower its own tariffs, open some sectors to foreign competition, and play by the WTO's rules. But in hindsight, it is clear that what China gained, unfettered access to the entire global consumer market, far outweighed what it gave up. With the WTO's doors wide open, China transformed into the world's factory. It had all the right ingredients: a massive disciplined workforce, low wages, and a powerful state that could build roads, ports, and power grids at astonishing speed. The government also provided strategic support and subsidies to its key industries. The result? A mass migration of manufacturing companies from the US, Europe, and Japan moved their production lines to China to slash costs. Global supply chains, once spread out, began to converge on a single country. For consumers everywhere, this meant cheaper electronics, clothes, and toys. China hadn't just joined the global economy. It had become its indispensable manufacturing floor. The impact on China's own economy was nothing short of miraculous. GDP growth soared into the double digits year after year. An estimated 800 million people were lifted out of extreme poverty in one of the greatest economic success stories in human history. Entire cities sprang up from nothing. Gleaming skyscrapers, high-speed rail lines, and massive ports became symbols of this new era. A huge urban working class and a new middle class were created, fueling a domestic consumer boom. The decision to join the WTO had flipped an economic ignition switch, launching China into a period of hypergrowth that the world had never seen before. But this new reality had winners and losers on a global scale. The clear winners were multinational corporations whose profits soared thanks to lower production costs, and consumers in developed nations who enjoyed an era of low inflation and affordable goods. But there was a flip side. This phenomenon, later dubbed the China shock, hit manufacturing workers in the United States and Europe hard. Factories that had been the lifeblood of towns for generations closed down, unable to compete. Local industries in other developing countries were also overwhelmed by the sheer scale and efficiency of Chinese production. The benefits of globalization were real, but so was the pain, and it was not distributed equally. Before 2001, the global economy was a stage dominated by three main actors: the United States, the European Union, and Japan. They set the rules and drove the conversation. After China's entry, the script changed. Within 2 decades, China overtook Germany to become the world's largest exporter. It became the primary engine of global growth, its demand for raw materials reshaping economies from Brazil to Australia. The economic center of gravity, which had been firmly planted in the North Atlantic for centuries, began to visibly shift eastward. The world was no longer unipolar or tripolar. It was becoming multipolar, with China as a new, undeniable superpower. So what happened to that Western hope that the WTO would tame China and make it more like a market-based democracy? It largely failed. The WTO was designed for market economies, but China perfected a hybrid model. It kept its powerful state-owned enterprises, used industrial policy to target strategic sectors like tech and green energy, and carefully managed its currency. It learned to use the WTO's rules to its advantage while shielding its own system from the changes the West expected. The WTO's dispute resolution process was too slow and ill-equipped to handle China's unique state capitalist model. China played the game and it mastered it. The political consequences of this grand experiment have been profound and often the opposite of what was intended. In the West, the deindustrialization and job losses fueled a powerful political backlash. Discontent over inequality and the perceived unfairness of globalization led to the rise of populism and protectionism, challenging the very consensus that had led to China's WTO entry in the first place. Meanwhile, in China, staggering economic success didn't lead to calls for democracy. Instead, it strengthened the legitimacy of one-party rule. National pride soared. The government could point to its achievements as proof that its model was not just successful, but superior. Economic growth had reinforced authoritarian stability, not liberal reform. Today, we are living with the long-term consequences of that 2001 decision. The assumptions made back then are being fundamentally re-examined. We see this in the US-China trade war, the push for companies to diversify their supply chains away from China, and the growing tech decoupling as the two nations compete for technological supremacy. The very idea of unchecked globalization is being questioned, and the WTO itself is seen by many as outdated and in need of reform. The world is now grappling with the new reality that China's WTO entry created, an era of intense strategic competition. So what are the key lessons from this pivotal moment in history? First, economic integration does not automatically lead to political liberalization. Markets are powerful, but they don't have a built-in code that creates democracy. Second, globalization creates real winners and losers, and ignoring the pain of those who lose out can destabilize entire societies. Third, state power still matters immensely. China proved that a state can strategically harness market forces without surrendering control. And finally, global institutions must evolve. Rules designed for one era can be easily outmaneuvered in the next. In the end, China's entry into the WTO did not just integrate China into the global system. It ended up restructuring the entire global system around China. It was a moment that promised a future of convergence, but instead it defined a new age of competition. The world of 2001 is gone, and we are all still navigating the world that it created. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this breakdown insightful, be sure to like, share this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. See you next time.